ready to start? Yeah. Good afternoon to all of you, and I welcome you as we gather for Billy. Some of you may have noticed, some of you may not, but I noticed, Lauren has a fabulous t-shirt. And it says there is only one Billy Phelan. And I think that about sums it up. My name is Sharon. It's my privilege to lead this service for Billy. And we've come to celebrate his life, to celebrate his love for life, to celebrate his love for the people in his life. And it's lovely that the center of all of his life was family. And Billy had 5 children, some by destiny, some by love, some by fate, but he was dad to 5, and it's beautiful. I want to sympathize with you, Lisa, and with his brothers and his sisters. And today we also remember his mum and dad, Betty and John, and then his younger brother John, who died when he was 7, and Helen and his nephew Stephen. And I have 6 candles lighting here in front of me. There's one for him, one for Mum, one for Dad, one for John, one for Helen, and one for Stephen. They are from Lisa and his 5 children, and they are from his 6 remaining brothers and sisters. So collectively, we've come to celebrate him. We do so by honoring him with the music that he loved. We do so with word, by acknowledging his greatness, his beauty, because he was beautiful, his fantastic sense of humor. But most importantly, we honor him with our presence. We honor him by being here with him and for him. And for the last few days, you have done what we do so well in this country. We take somebody that we loved in life and we cherish them in death. And we remain with them. And we gently ease them from our world and from our lives. And if you ask him this minute, where has he gone to? He'll tell you he's gone to the universe. And I'll accept that absolutely. I'm going to begin with a piece of music, with a song. And it's not so much that I would sing for him, but sing to him, because I'm pretty sure he's here with us. So there is a very lovely song. I think Jimmy McCarthy wrote it. And it really explains, Lisa, you and your life with him and the life of your children together. And I'm going to sing The Voyage. Now, he loved a good old sing-song, so if you want to join me, please feel free and do so. I am a sailor, and you're my first mate. We signed on together, we coupled our fate. Hauled up our anchor, determined not to fail. For the heart's treasure, together we set sail. With no maps to guide us, we steered our own course. We rode out the storms when the winds were gale force. Sat out the doldrums in patience and hope. Working together, we learned how to cope. Life is an ocean and love is a boat. In troubled waters, it keeps us afloat. When we started the voyage, there was just me and you. Now gathered round us, we have our own crew. Together we're in this relationship. We built it with care to last the whole trip. Our true destinations not marked on any charts. We're navigating to the shores of the heart. Join me. Life is an ocean and love is a boat. In troubled waters, it keeps us afloat. When we started the voyage, it was just me and you. Now gathered round us, we have our own crew. Life is an ocean and love is a boat. In troubled waters, it keeps us afloat. When we started the voyage, it was just me and you. Now gathered round us, we have our own crew. Now I'm going to ask Alan to come and to share some thoughts with us. And bring some smiles. I'll try.
Oh my God, they want mate from my size, was it? Right, before I begin, just a few words of thanks. And before I begin those, if anyone have phones on, could you please turn them off? Could hear one or two go off. Right, so we'll start by giving thanks, first of all, to the Solace Centre, who were of great benefit to Lisa, the family, and indeed Billy. The men's group, who were somebody he could confide in, who were going through similar circumstances to himself. And obviously, he was able to unburden himself. We'd like to thank the staff of Cork Hospital, his oncologist and their staff, who were brilliant with him. The staff at WRH in his last hours. Thompsons here for all they've done. And of course, not to forget family, friends and neighbours who've been great over the last 2 days, putting up with all of our antics and cars and dropping in food to keep us going. So we're grateful for all of those people. And per Billy's wishes, if anyone would like to, they could donate to the Solace Centre and obviously help the great work to continue there. So before I get into anything about Billy himself, I'm going to begin with memories. Fond memories, and these ones are from myself, my brothers and sisters. And there's one for each of us. 2 for Frank, he's greedy. But there's basically memories that were unique to us. They weren't collective. They weren't memories that anyone else was involved in at the time. Or if they were too young to remember, as in Lizzy's case, as you'll see. So I'll begin with Liz. And Liz's memory is from, as was mentioned earlier, when our brother Johnny was deceased. Myself and Terry were only 2 years of age, so we've no recollection of it. But Liz's memory is about that day and how herself and Billy were in the back of the car and they were having an argument. And the argument was over which twin would be held by who. Now the thing with Billy and Liz is they were often mistaken for the twins, and from what I gather seemed to revel in the attention it brought. But in the back of the car they had this fight over it, so it was 2 pretenders to the throne fighting over the rightful heirs to the throne, as it were. But what I love about Lizzie's memory is that it's 53 years old now. And for 53 years it's brought a smile to her face, and will continue to do so. And that's what I love about that memory. Next up is Anne. Now you only need to look over here at Anne's sons to know this family and this household love their growth. As did ours, don't get me wrong. And Anne's memory is of an occasion in the house. Billy had been frequenting for a while, came back a bit, thin, worse for wear. and started to develop this pot belly from visiting Nan's been well fed. On one occasion, Stephen and Johnny were sitting at the table with Billy, eating a mound of food that had been handed to him by Anne, of course. And Johnny and Stephen are sitting there, as we all do in our family, crouched over the plate for fear that might drop and we'd miss it. Heads down, engrossed in hoovering their food, because God forbid chewing was a part of eating that really slowed the process down. The quickest way to the stomach was to just inhale. But Billy couldn't master this technique. And thereby, that's how he became known as the runt of the family. He wasn't quick enough to get it down like the rest of us. But on this occasion, the boys are heads down eating, and Billy starts to cough and splutter on the food. And the two boys, without missing a heartbeat, didn't even lift their heads. And the two of them in unison go, "Fucking amateur." And that there is Anne's memory that puts a smile on her face. Now we move on to Terry. And here we begin to see some of the qualities of Billy in Terry's example. Now, Terry suffered with nightmares as a child. And now, I didn't even know this. It's only when Terry shared her memory with me. Again, like I said, they're unique to each and every one of us. And Terry's memory is about Billy being the one there, comforting her. She wouldn't be able to sleep. He'd hold her hand. He'd tell her not to worry, everything would be okay. And he'd do that until she fell asleep. And again, what's lovely about this memory is she was a child, but so was Billy. There were only 3 years between us. So as a child, he already had this quality, being able to be there for somebody. And an expression that they think about don't worrying is something that permeated his life. And I heard it many times, as you'll see in my example. So again, that's another lovely memory of a quality that was there then, but grew as he grew. And that quality was a dominant feature in his life later on. So now we go on to Paul and his memory. And Paul's memory is different from the rest. Paul's memory is different because some of our memories of funny times, some of them are about his strengths. Paul's is one of the times about his vulnerabilities. Now, Billy was strong and rarely was vulnerable, but on the rare occasion he was, and on one occasion, very, very vulnerable. He found himself homeless. He found himself financially destitute, so to speak. And Paul opened his house to him. And he invited him into his home. And he lived with him for near on 6 months. During that time, Paul helped him financially. And Paul was the one saying that, "Don't worry, it'll be okay." It's like the roles were reversed. So Paul had a great memory of being able to do what Billy in later years did for him. Paul, as we all know in the family, struggled greatly with Billy's illness and coming to terms with it. And Billy repaid that in spades, because Billy made it easier for Paul to deal with, took him aside, talked to him one-on-one, and in so doing, helped him to cope with it, to come to terms with it. And again, that shows that strength of this, like in the early days with Terry, "Don't worry, it'll be okay." Here he was, practically on his deathbed, and he's telling him not to worry. He's consoling him. So that's a lovely memory for Paul to have. Now we move on to Frank with the two memories. Now the first is of, there were many visits to Billy's oncologist in Cork. And of course, you know, Billy had found out he had cancer in the prostate and pelvic glands and so on. And on one of the visits, Frank had accompanied him down. They went in to see the oncologist, and the oncologist was explaining about the polyps on his lungs and, you know, the way things would go there. And as they were driving away in the car, they were conversing. And whatever Billy had said to Frank, Frank came to the realization that this news about the polyps on his lungs was even news to him. That he hadn't heard this before. This was news Billy had only heard at the same time as Frank. And he was shocked, like, because Billy had not given any signs away when talking to the oncologist that this was new news. He just took it on the chin went about his way and out in the car, and 'twas only one comment brought this fact to light to Frank. But then later on, when they stopped to have a bite to eat, Billy turns around to Frank and goes, "Are you okay?" Again, this strength of worrying about others rather than himself. And that's a memory that Frank cherishes. The second is about Billy's sense of humour. It could be dark, it could be funny, and on this occasion it was both. It involves Donica Milan and John Sheridan, two good friends of Frank's and Billy's. And with Billy's health deteriorating, they decided, well, we'll make him a fine big raised bed that he can put in the driveway, and any who've been to the house have seen it. It's filled with the seasonal vegetables and so on. And as a result of that, Billy was obviously delighted with this, and they put this lovely artificial grass around the outside of it to make it look nice and pretty. So off away Donica and John went, and happy with their little bit of help they'd given. So of course Billy, with the dark sense of humour, and no doubt Lisa aiding and abetting. What happened was Billy decided, wouldn't it be fun if I climbed into this thing and lay down and crossed my arms as if I'm in my coffin? And of course he did. And his partner in crime, Lisa there, decided, yeah, I'll take that picture. And he goes and sends it to Donica and to John. I'm going to work the morning after, strolling up the road. Car screeches up alongside. Window comes down. "Oi! You see that bloody brother of yours? Put the bloody heart crossways in me," he said. This is Donica. Obviously, saw the funny side, but at the moment he got it, he put the heart of God into him, the fear of God into him. So there are Frank's memories, and of course highlights again Billy's resilience in dealing with what he was dealing with, and how humour has been our family's go-to over the course of all hardships we've had. And then there's myself. Now, I like to call a period that myself and Billy kind of, I won't say enjoyed together, but went through together, not out of choice, believe me. And I call it the Timon and Pumbaa era. And those of you who are familiar with The Lion King will know where this is going. So the two of us in our 40s found ourselves single fathers, single dads, a bit perplexed. What do single fellas in their 40s with kids do? Where do we go? Who do we socialise with? So like Timon and Pumbaa, a bit of outcasts, lost, didn't know what was going on. Then of course the Celtic Tiger bubble burst. Both of us had been in the painting game and the trade. So of course now we're unemployed, single, dads. What on earth are we going to do? But again, Billy was the kind, he'd always say, not like Pumbaa or Timon, Hakuna Matata, no worries. Billy's expression was, don't worry about that. And particularly to me, it used to be with the daggered eye, because he'd get a bit pissed off at my negativity from time to time, and it'd be, don't worry about that. And he didn't. But not only did he not worry, he was a man, as Terry often says, a man with a plan. And he'd always be ready and willing to find a way out of the rut he was in. And that's what he did. So, like Timon and Pumbaa, Timon led the way, I followed and farted occasionally. And we went on our adventures. And we entered courses, we tried to better our skills. Both of us were two men in our mid-40s who could barely work a smartphone. And here we were in the technological age, all the trades gone to pot. So we tried to do all these various courses, first aid, BER certification, you name it. Until one day both of us arrived at Ballybeg Greens in Ballybeg. And that's where Billy found a love for gardening. And that's why we're all wearing our colourful clothes today. It's the way his coffin depicts scenic scenes, and why his garden at home and his raised bed is full of produce. It's a time of the year that he loved, when all the fruits of his labour came to fruition, when all these things were there for him. Now, as I said, we'd done all these courses, and he found his love for horticulture. We'd done a course together. It wasn't for me. The Latin, all that thing put me off. But not Billy. He came to go through all the different levels, went on to do train-the-trainer course and become a tutor in horticulture. And not only did he do that, he then began to affect communities. He moved on and went in to become a tutor in Ballybeg and started to help people with special needs and so on. And he helped a lot in the community. Then, when that had finished, he moved on to Dungarvan. And in Dungarvan, he'd done the same. Apparently brought two communities together who formerly weren't through the allotment scheme up there. So again, that's my memories. There were hard times we had, but fond times, and he always dragged us through it. So now a bit about Billy himself. Well, we'll begin in our youth, and the bond that we had with Billy and Billy had with us, I think stems back to our youth and how we were reared, rough and ready. But also, I think the close proximity in age, being a part of a big family, I think aided and helped that. Because we'd only been steps at the rungs of the ladder, as it were, only a year between him and Paul, and a year between Paul and ourselves, and so on. What it meant was, we spent a lot of time together in the house, obviously, but outside, we did as well. Not out of choice, Jesus, we could have done with a break from each other from time to time. But because we were so close in age, our social groups overlapped. Our friends could be a year, 2 years apart, higher or lower, which meant all of our friends were part of the same friends group from time to time. In fact, quite a lot. As I said, Donica and John are a prime example. Friends of Billy's, friends of Frank's, and yet, a 4-year gap there, 4 or 5 year gap. So that helped to bring that bond because we weren't only at home together, we socialised together. But Billy too also had achievements in life. The most important, I suppose, being a father to Lee, to Laura, to John, and obviously to Jack and Adam as well. And indeed, to Adam, he became a friend as well. But I remember the trips to Kerry to see Lee and Laura and how we enjoyed those trips. And one in particular that I think everybody knows about and enjoyed, and Lee and Laura as well, was when Billy surprised them when a convoy of cars from Waterford rocked up in Rathmore outside Tralee, or outside Killarney, my mistake there. And there was a gaggle of us. And we went into Killarney, and I'd say they're traumatised to this day. We let loose in that place, and we went to Muckross, and we had great picnics and scenery, and it was just a brilliant day out where there was a whole host of us, and everybody got out of our way when they saw us coming. So we had the run of the place to ourselves. And again, great memories for Lee and Laura to have. And of course us, we still remember that day very vividly and we cherish it. But then it went on to college and work. And Billy studied in college to be a painter and decorator. And he learned all facets of the profession. Went on to do his apprenticeship with Sham Cooper and then eventually worked for various contractors throughout Waterford and beyond. But then he ended up becoming successful in his own right, starting up his own business, and at one point having 8 lads working under him, me being one of them as a subcontractor for a period of time. And we worked together on mixers ourselves, sharing jobs. So he was successful in life as well. But he was also very successful in attitude and so on. Like we said, that's why he was so successful. He had a very positive attitude. He constantly, whenever he came across something that would get in his way, he found a way to overcome it. He had a plan. So then there was obviously when he moved to Dungarvan after he got his qualifications in the horticulture business. There is where he met Lisa. And of course, up there, Lisa became a rock, something stable in his life. And as he said, it was nice to have someone to come home to. He began to see some kind of stability in life now. Yes, he had had success now in professional wise, but now he was beginning to have success in love, in life. And of course, he had John with Lisa, and that rock became a foundation. It became a foundation for a relationship that blossomed. And you can tell how well that relationship went, particularly as I relate a couple of stories in a few moments about how they dealt with the cancer, how they interacted with us. And you could tell that Lisa had adopted the sense of humour that Billy had. And when two people in a relationship get to that point where they become, I suppose, like those two, nearly a comedy duo, well then you think to yourself, that's where a couple want to be. That's the epitome of success in a relationship. And that's finally where he succeeded in life. With you, Lisa, and with your children, and with John, Adam, and Jack. But like I said, your marriage or relationship was one where he blended as a comedy duo. And in the last days of Billy's life, this never more came to the fore. On one occasion, the nurse had called in to tend to Billy, and he was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I sat on a chair in the room, and Lisa was in the room, and Billy said, no, wait until she's gone out, meaning Lisa. So Lisa says, okay, and she goes out into the hall, and he goes, no, that's not far enough, he said. She said, okay, I'll go out for a fag. She goes outside the front door. No, he said, keep going. When you hear a splash, stop. For those of you outside who don't get that, they live in Island View, which looks at an island in a river. And on the second one, it was in the house. Again, this time, perhaps in one of his not so good days. And in his not so good days, Billy, before midday or beyond, could barely lift his head up. And on this occasion, it was no different. Again, I was sitting there, and Lisa was, Billy, lift up your head, Billy. And Billy goes, if I lift up my head, I'll have to talk to you and look at you. And again, it just epitomised how he dealt with what he was going through, how he helped Lisa, the family, us. We could never, ever have gone through what we've gone through if it wasn't for him and how he dealt with it. So, really, I want anyone who wishes to pay their respects when we're done, by all means do so. But what I'd also like you to do, if possible, there are many of you here who we don't know, who knew Billy, whether it be professionally, in person, out having a few bevies, whatever it was. Tell us your stories. Tell us how you met him. Don't be afraid to use his name and talk to us about him. Tell us how you met him, how he impacted your life, and hopefully in so doing, you can give us cherished memories we haven't had, ones that we can go on into the future and have another great time reminiscing in years to come about. So with that in mind, I think that's all I really have to say. I don't know if Lisa's up for being able to come up and say a few words. Yeah.
Unlike Alan, I'm not prepared. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for being here, for your condolences, for your lovely stories. But most of all, today, I just want to thank his family. His family have been so good to me. Never made me feel unwelcome. Took the piss more than he did at times. But I had some hard times with Billy through his illness. He'd no one else to take it out on, of course, me being the closest. And every one of them were backing me when I had nobody else. And he gave us our last memory as a family together. He gave us Fota what he wanted, and we'll forever treasure that. Thank you.
The trouble with Billy's illness was that he got ill at a time when it wasn't a good time to be ill. I'm talking about COVID. And it made the journey so much more difficult because there wasn't the normal access to doctors and hospitals that perhaps he should have had. And it was a story that's reminiscent all over the country. So many families have had this experience. And yet, with incredible forbearance, with incredible courage, and with incredible love, he kept going. And he didn't do so for his sake, he did so for the sake of everybody else. And myself and Lisa have spoken a bit over the last few days, and I am absolutely certain and had that certainty that your love was an incredibly special one. And yes, it was based on humour, but it was based on love. That you could be so comfortable with each other, that you could go through anything together. And 3 years ago when he got ill, you began that journey with him. And then when he drew his last breath, you began another journey with him. You all did. And it's that journey of seeing him gently go from our lives, acknowledging everything about him that made him uniquely him, all the things, like I said, that made him beautiful. And, you know, we often use the expression, a beautiful soul. He was. We walked this journey with him in the last few days in the house. And today, we formally see him going from our lives, giving him our peace, giving him our love, and cherishing him as much in death as we did in life. That brings sadness, but it also brings an incredible example of how to live and how to love. And whatever those ingredients were to do that, he had them in spades. So I'm going to ask you for the next few moments to just very simply take Billy in your hearts and take him in your hands, and that you would say to him the things that you want to say, and that you would commend him from your life and from your world and from your relationship with him. And at his request, we commend him to the universe. So I'm going to ask you to do that your way. I can only think of one person who'd put him up to it. And it is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. Before we take our leave of Billy today, we take him to his final resting place. We give thanks to him for so much. We give thanks for his love of his mum and his dad. and his childhood years growing up with his brothers and his sisters. And there is something magical about being brought up in a close family where there are many. And I'm a bit like that myself. My mother had 5 of us under 4. So, know what that felt like. And it was beautiful. And it was magic. We give thanks to him for his love of you, Lisa, which was an incredibly special love. And the reason I lit candles for him here is because they symbolize light, and light is eternal. Light has no beginning and it has no end. And while death has taken the life from his mortal body, it has not taken his love, and it has not taken his light. They remain with us, and they remain in the hearts of every one of you. We give thanks for his many, many gifts and his many, many talents. We give thanks for his shining example of how to live life and how to live it to the best. Sometimes when you don't have a great hand of cards in your hand. And yet, he made the most of everything. We give thanks for his great, great sense of humor because he brought joy. And there are so many memories today where people laugh because of him. Then we give thanks for his friendships, friendships that endured because he was who he was. We give thanks for his great quest of knowledge, for knowledge, for his love of horticulture, and all those wonderful Latin terms that he memorized. We give thanks for his love of music. But most importantly, we give thanks for his beautiful heart. We thank him for everything that he brought to this world, everything that he meant, everything that he gave, and everything that he taught us. And he taught us well. There is a very beautiful poem written in 1981 by David Harkins. And I've read this many, many times, but I'm going to adapt it for Billy today. And it is, I think, what he would want to say to all of us today. And it's simply this, that you can shed tears that I have gone, or you can smile because I have lived. And you can close your eyes and pray I'll come back, or you can open your eyes and see everything that I have left you. And your heart can be empty because you can't see me, or it can be full of the love and the life that I shared with you. You could turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. And you can remember me and only that I have gone, or you can cherish my memory, let me live on. You can cry, close your mind, be empty, turn your back. Or you can do what I would really want you to do. Smile, open your eyes, live, love, and go on for me, and go on because of me. Billy, when we are weary and we are in need of strength, when we are lost and we are sick at heart, we will remember you. And when we have a joy that we crave to share, when we have decisions that are difficult to make, when we have achievements that are based on yours, we will remember you. And at the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, at the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember you. At the rising of the sun and at its setting, we will remember you. Because as long as we live, you too shall live. For you are now part of us, we are part of you, and always we will remember you. Billy, your life today we honour, and we do so in a very special way. Your departure from us reluctantly we accept, and your memory we cherish as we cherish you. And although there is grief and sadness as we say goodbye, there is gratitude for you and for your life and for everything that you brought us. And we are truly grateful for the privilege of having shared that life with you, but rest now at the end of your days. Rest in the hearts and minds of everybody here who loves you. And with that love, we shall now take you to your final resting place, and there we shall bid you a fond farewell. I didn't know this, but apparently 2 or 3 years ago, I did a funeral in Dungarvan that Billy was at. And I sang a song at that funeral, and he liked it apparently. So before we take him to the cemetery, I'm going to sing that for him. And again, if you know it, by all means, help. I don't know if you can see the changes that have come over me in these past few days. I've been afraid that I might drift away. I've been telling some stories and singing songs, make me think about where I came from. That's the reason why I seem so far away today. So let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're gonna be, now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, well, that would make me rather sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. I have moved and I've kept on moving, proved the points that I needed proving, lost the friends I needed losing, found others on the way. I've kissed the ladies and left them crying, stolen dreams, yet there's no denying I've traveled hard, sometimes continents flying, somewhere with the wind. So let me tell you that I love you, I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, that would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. I'm sitting here before the fire, the empty room and the forest quiet, the flames that couldn't get any higher, they're wither now and they've gone. I'm steady thinking my way is clear, and I know what I will do tomorrow. When the hands are shaken and kisses flow, then I will disappear. But let me tell you that I love you, I think about you all the time. Caledonia's been calling me, now I'm going home. Or if I should become a stranger, you know that would make me rather sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. No, I'm going to ask that we just leave the immediate family for a few minutes on their own before we go to the cemetery. Thank you.
4 lads beyond it. You can put out the old 4v2s if you want, and when we're going down it.
You don't think they are, really? Yeah. You do some good stuff, don't you? The pads, you notice. Birds, everything, really. Yeah. Alright. Bring the chair back a little bit because I'm going to have to go back here to swing back in. Just pull it back a little. Come back to here.
The lads are lower him and sort of, alright, he's travelling and all that. Yeah?
The lads know that.
On you, yeah, they know.
Yeah, we're down there. The lads are low on the phone.
Yeah, yeah. You go down there, you have the corner, you have.
Oh, you're around there.
Back is gone. Can I sit a little?
Of course, Daddy. You sit there.
Back is hanging off. And your father and mother did it. How near do you are?
Johnny, Sharon. You know when. I know. No matter. That's right. Some people walk. That's the shot. When the boys tell you, no one else. Oh, the headphone. My man, when you put the 6 on there.
Hold on, lads. Just hold on. Both on. I'll tell you when.
Go ahead.
Billy, though we need to weep your loss, you dwell now in that safe place in our hearts, where no storm or night or pain can reach you. And your love was like the dawn brightening over our lives, awakening beneath the dark of further adventure of colour. And the sound of your voice found for us a new music that brightened everything. Whatever you enfolded in your gaze quickened in the joy of its being. You placed smiles like flowers on the altar of the heart, and your mind always sparkled with wonder at things. And though your days here with us were far too brief, your spirit was alive, it was awake, and it was complete. So now we look towards each other no longer from the old distance of our names. Now you dwell inside the rhythm of breath as close to us as we are to ourselves. And though we cannot see you with outward eyes, we know our soul's gaze is upon your face, smiling back at us from within everything to which we bring our best refinement. So let us not look for you only in memory. There we will grow lonely without you. You would want us to find you in presence, beside us when beauty brightens, when kindness glows, and music echoes eternal tones. When orchids brighten the earth dark as winter has turned to spring, may this dark grief today flower with hope in every heart that still loves you, and may you continue to inspire us. We lay you to rest now, with your mum, with your dad, with your brother, with your sister.
That down. Put that green one. Now just roll over.
His vegetables. So he's now got his vegetables from his vegetable patch in with him. Think of me as one at rest, for me you should not weep. I have no pain, no troubled thoughts, for I am just asleep. The living thinking me that was is now forever still, and life goes on without me now as time forever will. And if your heart is heavy now because I've gone away, dwell not long upon it, friend, for none of us can stay. Those of you who liked me, I sincerely thank you all. But those of you who loved me, I thank you most of all. And in my fleeting lifespan, as time went rushing by, I found some time to hesitate, to laugh, to love, to cry. Matters it not if time began, if time will ever cease. I was here, I used it well, and now I am at peace. Together, collectively, we give him our love and our peace as we lay him to rest in the company of his mum and his dad, his brother and his sister. We commend him now to the universe, and we wish him peace. Nathan, where's Nathan gone? He's here.
Just to say, I'm about to murder this song, so but I'm doing it for Billy. So if any you know the words, just sing along and help me out, will you? Please. I read a note my grandma wrote back in 1923. Grandpa kept it in his coat and showed it once to me. He said, boy, you might not understand, but a long, long time ago, Grandma's daddy didn't like me none, but I loved your grandma so. We had this crazy plan to meet and run away together. Get married in the first town we came to and live forever. But nailed to the tree where we were supposed to meet instead, I found this letter, and this is what it said. If you get there before I do, don't give up on me. I'll meet you when my chores are through. I don't know how long I'll be, but I'm not gonna let you down. Darling, wait and see. Between now and then, till I see you again, I'll be loving you. Love me. I read those words just hours before my grandma passed away. in the doorway of a church where me and Grandpa stopped to pray. I know I've never seen him cry in all my 15 years. But as he said these words to her, his eyes filled up with tears. If you get there before I do, don't give up on me. I'll meet you where my chores are through. I don't know how long I'll be, but I'm not gonna let you down. Darling, wait and see. And between now and then, till I see you again, I'll be loving you. Love me. And between now and then, till I see you again, I'll be loving you. Love me.
First Phelan I've ever heard sing. One there.
You're all welcome back to the mansion house for refreshments. So, to the mansion house now.